Dear students, let's start lecture number 3 on the topic security attacks of the course network security. This is our today's outline. First, we will delve into threats versus attacks. Then we will explore classes of attacks, including passive and active attacks, examples of active and passive attacks. Then I'll go through some of the most important definition which will be required to you while understanding or going through this course. Key security functions, classification, and then I give you an assignment. Then I'll share recommended reading and website which I have used in making these slides, and you can use these for exploring more about this topic. Then I'll share contact information via which you can submit your assignment or you can ask any question if you have. Let's start with threat versus attack. So threat is an object, person, or other entity that represent a constant danger to an asset. A threat is possible security condition or violation to exploit the vulnerability of a system or asset. A threat can arise from any condition, for example, fire, accident, fire incident, environment like natural disaster, human negligence, etc. The following are the various types of threats: interruption, interception, fabrication, and modification. Whereas attack is a deliberate, unauthorized action on a system or asset. Now, these are different classes of attack, like passive attack and active attack. So, passive attack is a network attack. A system is monitored and sometimes scanned for open ports and vulnerabilities. The purpose is solely to gain information about the target or recipient. No data is changed on the target. So the main line or the crux of these type of attacks is no data exchange. So normally sender and receiver, they are unaware of such kind of attacks. So when sender send anything to the receiver, so there is a intruder or a malicious user between them, and they are just eavesdrop or read their information, but they do not change their information or content. So no data is changed on the no data is change in passive. Whereas in active attacks, the attacks are carried out directly harm the information on the network. An active attack could also make target information by altering it in some way, or destroy humans, some nodes, or the entire network for some malicious purpose. So the main difference between active and passive attack is that in passive there is no alteration or modification is done, whereas in active attacks there is content or a data is changed. Now this is scenario 1. So you can call this as a passive technique, that sender is sending something to the receiver, and there is a intruder or malicious user that reads content of the message. So normally this is called release of message content. In this example, you can see the Bob is sending something to the Alice, and there's a Darth who is reading the content, but he is not changing anything. In this and in the case B, or in the case B, Bob is sending something to the Alice, and what the Darth is doing, that observe pattern of the message. Normally, you know that there are two kind of data which is traveling over the network. One is content or a payload, or you may call it as actual content or actual data, and another one is a header. So in this case, in traffic analysis, the Dart analyzing the header part. So using that header part, that Dart or that malicious user is planning to perform some kind of attacks. Normally, we call it as a traffic analysis. These are normally the uh, scenarios of active attacks. Like you can see here, the Bob is in communication with the Alice, but what the Dart is doing, the Dart is sending something to the Alice on behalf of Bob, and the Alice is accepting by considering the information which is actually sending by the Dart, but LS is considering that this information is sent by the Bob. So this is normally called as masquerade. Now replace that Bob is sending something to the Alice. There are two parties in communication, but whatever Bob is sending to the Alice, this is received by Dart first, and then Dart is making some kind of changes in that messages and sent to the Alice. This is called replay. This is modification of message, like Bob is sending to Bob is actually sending information to the Alice, but the Dart is accepting that information, and then modification is performed, and then Dart send that information directly to the Alice. And there's, you can see here, that they both are connected using Dart. So whatever Bob is sending, that is received Dart first, and then Dart perform changes on the message content and then send to the Alice. Denial of service. Here you can see that the Bob is a legitimate user, but Dart is sending something to the server, so that it is keeping this server busy. So this server is not giving time to the Bob, and Bob is deprived for the resources for which he was for which he was uh, uh, for which he was allowed. So you can see that's why this is called denial of service. So the Dart is keeping this server busy, and this server is not giving time to the Bob. So this is how denial of service occur. So I have explained, but you can go through each of them, as we know the definition of passive and active attacks, as we know the crux of both kind of attacks. Like in passive, there is no modification of messages is done, whereas in active attack, modification of messages is done. So you can go through each scenario and classify them, that which lie under active and which lie under passive. You can see here the list of active and passive attacks. You can denial of service and distributed denial of service and session replay, masquerade, message modification, Trojan, and in the passive attack, snooping and traffic monitoring and analyzing. These are the short definition. I have given this to you as an assignment in my previous lecture. So I hope that you have understood all these short definition, because they are very important. Because if you know these information, then you will be able to understand this course, because each course has uh, uh, some uh, some main lines or key terms which you must know in order to understand the concept of that course. So we have a malicious node and selfish node, external sniffer, snooping, traffic monitoring and analyzing. Most of them I have clarified in my previous lectures. If you go through them, so you will find most of them. But if you find someone which is not clear to you, you can Google and find more about each definition, because this is very important to understand each of them in order to understand this course in depth. And security issues, now you can see the security functions: authentication, confidentiality, integrity, non-repudiation, and availability. We have discussed this in our previous lecture. Like authentication, what we call authentication, for example, the resources for which you try to access. If you are a valid user, then you will be allowed to access those resources. And confidentiality, only authorized user is given access to the confidential or sensitive information. And integrity means that no changes are made, no changes are being made while data is moved, while data is moving over the network. Non-repudiation, that the sender accept that, okay, I have sent this information. And then availability, the service available for the authorized user. So you can see here internal and external. So here, this is a scenario of the network. You can see here that this is the network, and there's a user, malicious user inside. So this is called internal, and this malicious user is outside. So this is called external to the network. And passive, you can see here, sender is something to the receiver, and this is accepted by some malicious user between them. And what it is doing, that he is just viewing the information, and he is not modifying anything. So this is called passive. And here you can see sender is something to the receiver, but this is intercepted by some attacker, and then attacker is perform some kind of changes, or changes in those messages, and then sent to the receiver. This is called active. Now this is classification. This is internal and external. I have explained this also. Active and passive, this is already explained in my previous slide, and here I explained here as well. So network layer wise attacks. So here you can see that different kind of attacks which are distributed according to OSI layers. You can physical layer, data link layer, and network layer. I have given I have also give you the concept of these in my previous lecture. And I have also given you assignment that you have to explain all these, because this is very important for us to understand each attack as each attack by considering OSI layer, OSI security layers, to understand each concept. This is assignment. Your assignment lists different kind of active and passive threats and attacks launched at different layers of OSI. So cutoff date is 18th April. You can submit on or before 18th April, and you can submit this assignment through KCMS, or you can email me as well. And these are the recommended readings. You can go and explore more about this topic if you are interested. If you have any questions, you can ask me through KCMS or WhatsApp group, or you can email me. I'll be more than happy to answer your question. With that, we reach to end of this lecture. Till next lecture. Allah Hafiz.